All right. It is eight. All right. It is 8 o'clock Central Standard Time on Saturday. I am Wes, the co-host and creator of this podcast, Twin Cities Trekkies. We are going to discuss Star Trek: Strange New Worlds, season 3, episode 3, the Shuttle to Kenfori episode of Strange New Worlds, just released just 2 days ago. And I just want to let you guys know that this is our very first live at on Saturday. Last week was a fluke because I did not know that YouTube does you have to have 24 hours in advance before you can do a live stream for the first time. So yes, last week was a really interesting fluke because we did it on Sunday afternoon as opposed to Saturday night, which is right now. So, just a few housekeeping items before we get into the discussion. The live chat is open, so anybody out there who wants to pop their thoughts into the chat, please feel free to do so. A few other housekeeping items. Just let you guys know that to get in touch with us, it is simple. Send us an email at tctrekkiespodcast@gmail.com. Feel free to send us an email with anything you'd like to say. If when this episode is available as an audio version, if you are wanting to participate in other ways for social form, if you enjoyed this format for Twin Cities Trekkies, you can definitely do that. And I'll glad to read your email on the air on a future episode of this podcast. Yeah, I see someone in the chat right now. Hello to everyone who's there out there. So, but also, we are available on social media. The handle for Facebook is TC Trekkies Pod. Instagram is Twin Cities Trekkies Pod, all one word. Or you can search us out on Blue Sky and you search out TC Trekkies. The name of the handle should say Twin Cities Trekkies Pod. Hi, Chris. I see you there. Hi. Hello, Chris. And anybody else? Yeah. So TC Twin Cities Trekkies Podcast on Blue Sky. So go follow us there if you have any sort of want to follow us there for podcast updates, stuff like that. I always share the link to the live stream on Blue Sky, so you can follow us there. I think if you press that little play button on the link, it will show you right on that on the live stream there. So, but just keep in mind that any feedback could be read on a future episode of the podcast. So, I think tonight I'm going to start talking about the episode first, because not only do we need to talk about the episode, we also need to talk about the various tidbits of news, Star Trek and Paramount related. If everybody's willing to, talk about it with me, that's great. Yeah. So, So in addition to that, we're going to be talking about the Star Trek news that came out of Comic-Con today. Pretty big news, actually, especially for Strange New Worlds, but I thought was pretty big. And also the upcoming Starfleet Academy series. So I think we need to talk about all of it, not just the episode. So this is going to be a little bit longer than I anticipated, but that's because I didn't expect the biggest news from Star Trek in the last few days regarding yes. Chris says, I can't wait for to see Paul Giamatti in Star Trek. I cannot either. Let's talk about the news first, because I think that's more important to talk about, because I think that's first and foremost on anybody's mind, other than the episode. We'll talk about the episode a little bit later on. But yes, I am pretty excited to see Paul Giamatti. I have been a big fan of his for a long time. I think he's a great actor. I'm looking forward to seeing his villain, which I understand. Oh, okay. Okay, Ed, that's fine. He says, hey, Wes, hope you have a great show. Just wanted to stop real quick and say, sorry, I can't chat tonight. Having family time. Okay, that's fine, Ed. Thank you so much for giving me your well wishes. I appreciate that. So I do appreciate it. But back to what Chris was saying about Paul Giamatti, I am looking forward to I am actually looking forward to seeing him in Starfleet Academy, because, like I said, I've been a big fan of his for at least the last 20 some odd years. I only have known him from a movie that I used to watch when I was a kid called Big Fat Liar. He was the villain in that movie. He played this really obnoxious movie producer and filmmaker who stole a kid's story, and all the pranks to make him admit that he stole the story. So I think it's great. I'm looking forward to it, and I understand the villain that he's playing is half Klingon, half Tellarite. So that will be interesting to see how that all works out. Especially the teaser trailer for Starfleet Academy was released at Comic-Con today. The ending did show Paul Giamatti whistling the familiar Star Trek theme song. So I thought that was a really interesting choice. I don't know what's going to happen that makes him do that, but I'm looking forward to it. We got to know a little bit more about who everybody else, who the characters are all back. We have Holly Hunter playing a half Lathanite. Lathanites were introduced last season on Star Trek Strange New Worlds in the form of Pelia, played by Carol Kane. So I'm looking forward to seeing Holly Hunter too. I've been a big fan of hers too for a long time too. So I think Starfleet Academy is pulling out the big guns regarding the big two very big stars in Paul Giamatti and Holly Hunter. I mean, granted, I've known Holly Hunter from a lot of other shows and TV and films. Most notably, the Incredibles films as Elastigirl. You want Elastigirl? I'm sorry, I had to put a little Edna mode there. But and also, yes, yeah, Klingar, right? Yeah, that could make sense. And Chris says they're definitely setting their phasers to maximum with this casting. I agree. I mean, not only do you have two of the biggest Hollywood movie stars in, at least two of the biggest ones, like Holly Hunter and Paul Giamatti, but you also have Tig Notaro returning from Star Trek Discovery, and you also have Robert Picardo returning from Voyager and Prodigy. So, and I'm kind of glad that my theory did not prove accurate. I just listened to one of my recent episodes recently, actually. Our very first Voyager episode, 30 Years of Voyager episode we did back in January, and we thought, since Robert Picardo was coming back, we thought this was going to be the doctor that was in Living Witness. Well, Robert Picardo came out a couple weeks after that episode had dropped, saying that the EMH that we're seeing in Starfleet Academy is the one from Voyager, actually, from the USS Voyager, not the backup EMH module version. So it will be interesting to see if they actually do something about it in Starfleet Academy. The two doctors actually meeting and having a discussion. That would be an interesting episode, I think. But definitely, I think not only you got Tig Notaro and Robert Picardo coming back from various Star Trek shows. You also have Oded Fradier, who played Admiral Vance in the final 3 seasons of Star Trek Discovery, and also Mary Wiseman returning as Sylvia Tilly. So, but definitely everybody else is new to Star Trek. And yeah, they're definitely setting their phasers with maximum casting. So there was one aspect of the trailer that everyone's been talking about, and that is the memory, the hero wall on the back of on the backside of the cadets. There are a lot of Easter eggs in that wall of heroes. I want to say we don't know the actual name of it, but that's what I'm going to call it. It has the font reminded me of the movie Independence Day. Actually, the very first one, the first one actually, the titles of the opening titles of Independence Day actually has kind of that kind of font. I don't know what kind of font that is, but you got a lot of Easter eggs in there, such as Harry Kim is an admiral. I thought that was really interesting to see that Harry Kim being an admiral listed. There's also other characters from the various shows, and also from the production staff of this era of Star Trek. I saw Kirsten Beyer listed. I saw Aaron McDonald, the science advisor for this era of Star Trek, is listed there. Yeah, yeah, Chris, Admiral Kim. Sure, this is Mirror Universe. Yeah, it's actually listed. It said Admiral Harry S.L. Kim. And now we didn't know his middle name, but it was in Voyager. His middle name was listed as SL. But yeah, Admiral Kim. So he just bypassed ensign and go straight to admiral. Yeah. So yeah, Starfleet Academy coming in early 2026. So this is probably gonna kick off the 60th anniversary celebration for Star Trek. I'm anticipating, and this is my personal feeling, I'm thinking it's probably going to come either in February or March, because then you can move into season 4 of Strange New Worlds, and then whatever comes after that, maybe maybe a 60th anniversary special or something like that, and then you can move into season 2 of Starfleet Academy, and then see the final season of Strange New Worlds, stuff like that. And I'm looking forward to it. Actually, I thought it was really interesting to see that bridge, though, of the USS Athena, which is actually the name of the ship in this series, the hero ship in this series. I thought the bridge was humongous, and maybe, I don't know, it just looked big. I mean, granted, if you have a big cast, which is kind of like this is a big cast, not only just for starring characters but also recurring characters. It's going to be fascinating to see how this all plays out, especially this first 10 episode season, because Starfleet Academy has been in the works for the last 40 years, the last 50 years. We had a Gene, yeah. Yes, it was. Yes, Chris says the original concept for the TNG bridge with a multi-story structure with walkways, etc., could be a callback to that. Yeah, you're right. I have seen the concept art for the original Enterprise D bridge, and you're right. It was a lot bigger. It was designed to be a lot bigger, but obviously with the television budget of the 80s, you had to shrink it down. And but you're right, it could be a very big callback to that, and that'd be interesting to see. Like I said, the bridge looked humongous. So so I don't mind humongous bridges as long as it's all functional. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. So so we got Starfleet Academy coming in early 2026. Let's backtrack a little bit to talking about Star Trek Con, actually, the podcast series. 9 episodes coming starting September 8th on your favorite podcast platform. We now know more what's going on. Yeah. Yeah, Chris, I'm sorry. I walked right into that one, and he said, I don't mind humongous budgets as long as they're functional. That's what she said. I walked right into that one. That's okay. I don't mind it. I walked right into that joke. Okay, so Star Trek Con, coming in September, on your favorite podcast platform. 9 episodes, trying to bridge the gap between Space Seed and the Wrath of Khan. Not only do we have an idea of what it's going to be about, but we knew some of the casting for it. We knew, I forgot his name now, but the person who plays Khan. But we also have Ren Schmidt, who plays Marla McGivers, who I know from For All Mankind, which is a fantastic TV show on Apple. So if you haven't watched it yet, I highly recommend you do, because For All Mankind is a great show. It's created by Ron Moore, who helped with DS9 and Next Gen, and I think it was great to see her being a part of the Star Trek franchise. Um, but then we also have a few other characters. One is, yes, I think we should. Chris says, "Can we get Ronald D. Moore back in Star Trek, please?" I think if he wasn't doing All for All Mankind, I mean, granted, he writes some of the episodes and is an executive producer. If he wasn't doing that, I think if he wasn't doing that or other shows he was doing at the time of Discovery, I think Brian Fuller probably would have brought him in. Um, I think Brian Fuller probably would have brought him in. So, but he did bring Joe Manoski for the first season. But I thought, and stuff like that. I think if he wasn't busy with other things, I think he probably should be back in Star Trek. But he's busy doing For All Mankind, which is like I said, a fantastic sci-fi what if TV show. So if anybody's got it on Apple, I highly recommend you watch it. It's a great show. I think it's a great show. But I think we should get Ron Moore back. I mean, um, you know, I'm a big defender of this era of Star Trek with Kurtzman. But if, say, Kurtzman's contract does expire at the end of next year, if they decide to go a different direction, they may try to romance Ron Moore. I would think they would try to romance Ron Moore. I mean, someone who is in charge of Star Trek would do that. Um, but or Kurtzman could bring in Ron Moore. I don't know if they extend his contract. But yes, yeah. So about Star Trek Con, we now know who else is going to be a part of the show. We also have George Takei returning back as Captain Sulu of the USS Excelsior. Yeah, yeah. Chris says "Cat's out of the bag now." As much as I love it, we will never see get '90s era Trek again. Probably not. And it's nothing personal or anything of the sort. I mean, I have an affinity for '90s Trek. I grew up on '90s Trek. I was a '90s kid. But you know, we probably will never get a 26 episode season again. That's because of the production values of the various shows now are well above what they did for Next Gen and DS9 and Voyager and Enterprise. But they take a lot longer to make. The seasons do, but and the post production is definitely a lot longer than they did for back then in the '90s. Cook them like what 2 or 3 weeks at 12 hours a day to do visual effects for various episodes, and it's amazing what they got done in the course of 18 years on Star Trek during the '90s, from Next Gen to the end of Enterprise. But we have back to Khan, we have George Takei returning as Sulu, but we also have Tim Russ returning as Tuvok. So, and this is probably set during the Lost Era. I mean, at least their aspect of the story is set during the Lost Era of Star Trek, or at least we don't know exactly what time frame, but I'm guessing it's probably going to be between Star Trek 5 and 6. So at least their framing story is going to be about that. So technically, we're going to get missing era, a lost era kind of story, but that's not controversial. Chris says my controversial opinion that Tuvok is my favorite Vulcan. I don't disagree. Tuvok is great. He is, but I mean, Tuvok for me is number 2. Obviously, Spock is number 1, but that's not. I don't think that's controversial, Chris. I bet you there's a lot of people who would agree with you. I don't think that's very controversial. But but I'm looking forward to hearing Star Trek Con. So that comes out. Episode 1 comes out on September 8th. So I am looking forward to hearing that because I had started to read the in between story from Greg Cox, which was the third book of the Eugenics Word series, which is called To Reign in Hell, which was his version of the prequel between Space Seed and the Wrath of Khan, and he had a very different framing story. He had it was set after Star Trek 4. The framing story was in which Kirk and McCoy and Spock traveled back to Ceti Alpha 5 to understand why Khan acted the way he did. So this is kind of like the same kind of thing, other than it's now being with Captain Sulu and the Excelsior, rather than Kirk, Spock, and Bones going back to Ceti Alpha 5 and understanding why Khan acted the way he did. So I'm looking forward to that 100%. I think it's going to be great. Kirsten Beyer is one of the writers of this series, and I think she developed the story with Dayton Ward, I believe. So one of the very big Trek authors. So this is going to be really great to hear. We have our very first audio drama for Star Trek. I mean, granted, I understand that Doctor Who has been doing this for years, and I'm not a Doctor Who fan because I don't understand Doctor Who, and that's just my personal opinion. But definitely, I think this is going to be a great little mini thing. I'm looking forward to seeing how this whole played out because Nick Meyer had actually developed this when he was consulting producer on the first season of Star Trek Discovery. So I'm looking forward to this 100%. This is actually what I'm really excited about actually now because, if it helps, Doctor Who is fundamentally a children's show. Oh, I did not realize that because most of some of my family has been, some of my family has been a Doctor Who fans for a number of years, and I didn't really understand Doctor Who, so that's why I never got into it. I mean, granted, Doctor Who is older than Star Trek by about a few years, so about 3 years, I think, 1962 or 63 when I first started airing on the BBC. So, yeah, it's kind of fascinating. All right, one more thing, and I'm going to go talk about Shuttle to Kenfori. Doctor Who invented the Borg. That's great, Chris. I like that. Or maybe I know some of. I understand some of it a little bit, but I just never got into it. I mean, like the guy, the doctor is an alien and stuff like that, traveling to other time periods and universes and stuff like that. So I do know that, and I know that one of the species is named Dalek, and they act like the Borg. So that's what I understand. That's all I understand about Doctor Who. So, but so one last thing about the big thing that came out of Comic-Con was the teaser trailer for season 4 of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Season 3 has already started airing, so they're doing the same kind of thing they did with season 2 when season 2 of Picard, actually. Near the end of Picard, we got a teaser for season 3, knowing that the Next Generation cast was returning for season 3. Well, this is kind of the same kind of thing. They're teasing a very special episode of the season in which the Strange New Worlds cast is turning into the Muppets. The teaser trailer was really awesome. I actually giggled, and I'm actually looking forward to it. This is going to be a fun little episode, and I think it's going to be great. This is episode number 405, by the way. I followed Jordan Canning, who directed this episode of Strange New Worlds, this one with the Muppets, and they said that they were very excited to work on it. And oh, man, I just realized something when I thought about that is that they're doing this. I think this is going to be fun. First and foremost, I am looking forward to seeing this very fun episode of Strange New Worlds with Muppets, like with the cast being Muppets. So my guess is the story is going to be the Enterprise travels to an alternate dimension in which they are the Muppets. So that's what I'm guessing. This is gonna be fun. If it's gonna be like those old scientists or Subspace Rhapsody or any of the fun episodes that we've gotten over the past almost 3 seasons now, um, I think it's gonna be great to see that. I think it's gonna be great. I'm looking forward to it 100%. Because I think it's gonna be great. And now I just realized something. Uh, that episode is number four, the fifth episode of season 4, and they had just finished wrapping season 4, just recently in the last couple of days. So I think the assumption of 10 episodes for season 4 is kind of inaccurate. Personally, I think now we are now 19 episodes from the series finale of Strange New World as opposed to 23. So I think seasons 4 and 5 are 6 episodes apiece. I am not 100% sure about that, but if they had just finished season episode 5 and then they were filming season episode 6 and then they said they just wrapped up season 4, then season yeah, I think Star Trek Change the Worlds is wrapping up after another, which would be now 19 episodes as opposed to another 23. So yeah, and Chris says I agree. They're obviously winding down Strange New Worlds with a fewer episodes. Yeah, I think the seasons 4 and 5 are 6 episodes apiece, as opposed to thinking that season 3 will be 10, and then the next season will be 10, and then season 5 will be 6. I think it's going to be 10 this season, and then 6 for the next 2. So we have 22. Yeah. Chris says I take less episodes if it means an S&W movie. I think the next streaming film from Star Trek will be from Strange New Worlds. I think it will be because Strange New Worlds is one of the top shows they've ever had on the service for Paramount. From what I understand, they had top 10 ratings for at least half the season for season 2. So I'm guessing we'll get a made for streaming film based upon Strange New Worlds. I don't necessarily think that would be good. I don't think it will be a movie for the movie theater, but I think the next streaming film after Section 31 would be one from Strange New Worlds. Because, like I said, Strange New Worlds has been very popular on the service. Not even because it was popular. Yeah. When do you think we'll get another theater Star Trek release? Ooh, that's a good question, Chris. I appreciate you interacting with me like that. I don't know, and I wish we would have one for next year. I wish we would, because but based upon how much effort Paramount put into Beyond in terms of their marketing for the 50th anniversary, because that was the 50th anniversary movie was Beyond. I am not. We haven't heard. Yeah. We haven't heard a peep about the new JJ Trek film since I think it was late last year. That they were still in the process of nailing down the writers and director for that, nailing down a script and stuff like that for the next Kelvin film. Personally, I don't think the origin movie should be made. And that's nothing personal against anybody who wants to do that, and I applaud them if you want to do that. But if they are going to do that for the films, for a theatrical film, then you're killing the franchise. So because I have a feeling that that screams box office bomb all over it, the origin film. But yes, we haven't heard much about the fourth Kelvin movie in about, I think, maybe 8 months. I think they said something about they were nailing it down, and they were teasing it as they're teasing it as the last Kelvin timeline film. So, and if they actually do it, which I am hopeful they will, because I think the film series definitely needs a conclusion. I mean, granted, I loved Beyond. Beyond was the best one, but was the best one in my opinion. But I mean, I if I had to put all three, I put Beyond, 2009, and In the Darkness. But I Beyond was my favorite, and because it felt like the most original story out of all three. Um, yeah, I'm glad you agree, Chris. I mean, there are some great parts about the other two films, but Beyond was my favorite. Um, so I really did enjoy Beyond the most. But I think it definitely needs a conclusion. With this cast, who can I hope they can find some way to honor Anton Yelchin, who we all know passed away 9 years ago from a freak accident shortly before Beyond hit theaters. But I'm hoping that's what I'm hoping is that they'll find some way to honor Anton Yelchin and his character and his version of Chekhov in this next film. I'm hoping they will, because this cast is not unlike the original series cast where everyone hated William Shatner's guts, but they all are still good friends and they all get along and stuff like that. This cast has been together for now, oh my gosh, 18 years at this point. This cast was assembled 18 years ago. So and yeah, I think they'll find some way to honor Anton Yelchin. And I'm really looking forward to the next film about that. But the Origins movie, put that on Paramount Plus. Put that as a streaming movie. Don't put it in the theater, because if they did, it's a franchise killer. So, in my opinion, I really do, and I'm not, and I think that I think the origin story is a good idea, but we've already had too many origin stories now in Star Trek, too many prequels. So, but if they want to do it, more power to them. But don't put it in the movie theater. Put it on streaming. I mean, that's my opinion. So, but um, yeah. So I'm looking forward to everything that came out today from Comic Con, especially the Muppets started Strange New Worlds episode. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'm really looking forward to that one. I think it's going to be fun. I mean, those old scientists up the Lower Decks crossover was great. Subspace Rhapsody was great. So in my opinion, I should say that Subspace Rhapsody, in my opinion, was great. I know a lot of people don't like it. So, but yes, so that's the biggest news that came out of Comic Con today. We know a few of the characters are hybrids too of Starfleet Academy. Just briefly touch upon them. There's a Klingon Jem'Hadar hybrid. There is a Klingon. Yes, thank you, Chris. I appreciate it. Subspace Rhapsody was great. It was. I actually really did enjoy talking about it on the Year in New Trek panel at Convergence. Actually, talking about how awesome it was, and especially that first song, that status report song, which was the first song and stuff like that. And at the end, just was great. But with Anson Mount singing, "But why are we singing?" So I really did enjoy that much. a lot. I did enjoy that. I did enjoy that and stuff like that. So, speaking of Strange New Worlds, let's talk about the new. Oh, thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. He said, "What a beautiful voice." Yeah, I mean, I have the singing gene in my bones. So both my on my mother's side of the on my mother's side of the genes. So thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. He said he had a beautiful voice. Thank you. Even though when I sang it at Convergence, everyone laughed. So, but I said it kind of funny too. I sang it kind of funny, so that's probably why. But talking about Strange New Worlds, the newest episode, Shuttle to Kenfori. So, I only watched this episode once, and I only am watching these episodes only once, and I can retain what I saw most of the time. But in this episode was great. I it wasn't okay. I should say that not great. It was good. Because compared to the first two episodes of the season, this one went back up on the escalator of on the roller coaster, I should say. What Ed said last week, um, of the high adventure and stuff like that. So definitely, this episode was definitely an homage to George Romero from his various zombie movies that he's made over the years. Most notably, that one with Captain Rhodes of was it Dawn of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead? Yeah, so I really did enjoy that. I we Star Trek has done zombie episodes before. The only one that immediately comes to mind. I didn't see the story right now, Chris. You needed to sing an entire episode of Twin Cities Trekkies. LOL. Oh man, you know what? You know what's funny is that both Kenzie and I can sing, and we can probably do that. That would be great. We could definitely do that. We just need somebody who can compose music. Hold on a second. I'm gonna turn on some lights. All right, that's better. So, definitely. Yes, OMG, do it. Okay. Well, I'll bring it up with Kenzie and see where we go with that. So, but definitely, since Kenzie and I can both sing, that can definitely probably be an idea. Uh, that would be interesting. But we just need somebody to compose music, compose music and write lyrics. So we just need to do that. We just need somebody who can do that. I am not that inclined. I'm just more of like a speaker and singer. But definitely, we could definitely bring that up. But back to Shuttle Kenfori. So, like I said, we had an homage to zombie episodes, zombie movies, and TV shows of the old. Definitely from George Romero, but definitely, I said before, Star Trek has not done a zombie episode in about 22 years. The one that comes immediately to mind when this episode was airing was Impulse from Enterprise. That was the first Star Trek credit by Terry Matalas. So he was he was one who crafted the story, helped craft the story for that episode of Enterprise. And granted, Matalas had been a part of the franchise at that point for a number of years, being a productions assistant on Voyager and then eventually Enterprise. But definitely, this episode definitely felt like a new version of that episode. But granted, we didn't have anybody go insane and go on a murderous rampage against the Enterprise crew or anything of the sort. But I did enjoy most of this episode because it's not only because of I really liked the homage to the death of Captain Rhodes in that George Romero zombie movie, but with Beta saying "choke on them" in Klingon, "choke on me" with or something like that. Beta, I think her name was. But what I really did enjoy was actually I watched Captain's Quadrant last night, and Jason, one of the hosts of Captain's Quadrant, was talking about I was more invested about the stuff on the Enterprise more than what was on the planet, and I actually agree with him. The stuff on the Enterprise was actually more interesting than it was on the planet. But granted, yes, we got kind of a resolution to Mbenga's story from last season's Under the Cloak of War, which was, I think, their version of a Mash episode. And Mash was great. Mash is a great TV show. I mean, because DS9 had done it too with North of Alex Strong. But I think uh, this episode of Strange New Worlds was more interesting about stuff what happened on the Enterprise, because we have unresolved PTSD from Erica Ortega's, and the her Melissa Navia and Rebecca Romaine definitely um, had a great rapport with each other in this episode. Their performances were top notch. Um, I really did enjoy seeing that. And, Erica Ortega has put Harry Kim to shame with her defiance of orders. I mean, granted Harry Kim, kind of yelled out his not yelled out, like really stood firm on his ground about defying orders, but Erica Ortega just took it in her own hands and you know did what she needed to do to get Pike and Mbenga off the planet. And there were some other things about that I thought was really odd. First of all, can we talk about her hair? Can we talk about Unda's hair for a second? Um, I did not hate it. A lot of people on the internet were freaked out by it. I just thought it was odd. It was just odd. I mean, I did. I mean, I thought it was just an odd choice of hairstyle. I mean, it was, but I didn't hate it. I just thought it was odd, and that's just me. Um, but definitely, I definitely enjoyed this the stuff on the Enterprise because with consequences of actions that Eric Ortegas did to get the ship off get Pike and Mbenga off the planet and stuff like that was fascinating. I thought that was interesting. She was reprimanding her and she said, "You're off the duty schedule, off the duty roster, and stuff like that. Go deal with your shit." But but I thought this was a great way of because it looked like Una was kind of hurt by what she did, what Erica did. So kind of, and I think she, I don't know what's going to happen, but I think their relationship is going to change, probably for the worse. Because I can see a mother-daughter kind of or mentor-mentee relationship between Erica Ortegas and Una Chin Riley. And the same thing can be said about Una Chin Riley and Lohan Noonien Singh. So, but definitely, she's definitely hurt by what she did, and I thought when his hair choice was odd. I thought the artificial gravity part of the episode, they lost gravity on most of the ship while trying to rescue, and Scotty doing it in zero gravity was kind of funny, beaming up Pike and Mbenga. But the Enterprise going into that planet's atmosphere and stuff like that reminded me too much of Into Darkness. And that was something that I wish I had never seen again. But that's just me. I really enjoyed most of this episode. I did enjoy it. I know a lot of people probably thinking, why did you do this? But why did Strange New Worlds do a zombie episode? And I thought, okay, well, Star Trek hasn't done a zombie episode in over 20 years, so why don't we just do it again? Bring up that kind of thing again. Kind of give a resolution to that last season's Under the Cloak of War, and give some interesting things. But you know, there, yes, Chris said should have had this in October. Just saying, yeah. And I say that about the other shows too, like to have had like stuff that deals with horror or stuff like that being airing in the middle of their seasons rather than near the end. Like the most notable one I mentioned when I did my Voyager best episodes list was The Haunting of Deck 12. That episode was the penultimate episode of season 6 of Voyager. However, that episode should have aired in October because it had dealt with a lot of horror elements. Yes, but definitely I would recommend this episode to be watched in October rather than in the middle of July, um, near the end of July. I think that was a little weird, but that's the way it is. I think certain episodes should air near the certain holidays. Yes, actually, we haven't done one of those. We actually have done. We haven't done one of those. A Twin Cities Halloween episode. We actually haven't done that one, and maybe I should. I haven't done one of those. Talking about horror episodes of Star Trek. Not only just this one, but also episodes like Impulse and, gosh, Sub Rosa or Cat Spa or those episodes that should have aired that they're Halloween with horror elements and stuff like that. Oh, okay. I'll keep you in mind for that, Chris. He said I'd love to be a guest on that one. Yeah, I'll definitely keep you in mind for that. But right now, I'm just gonna figure out what to do now. But everything about this episode is actually pretty good, and I'm looking forward to the next episode, which is a space adventure hour, which everyone at Comic Con got to see today. Got a special sneak peek at a sneak preview. I think they watched the entire episode at Comic Con. And A Space Adventure Hour is the episode where Jonathan Frakes directed. And it is a murder mystery episode. And he said it was one of the best episodes he ever directed in his career. So I am looking forward to that next episode of Strange New Worlds. I did not expect that episode to be the murder mystery episode. I expected another episode to be like that. I forgot the name of it, but not that one. So for this episode of Strange New Worlds, Shuttle to Kenfori, I give it a 4.5 out of 5. And I think there are some elements of it that was just a little bit too far-fetched, and that's why I give it a half rating off of it. But mainly, I think they didn't really explain why all the zombies existed, and that's just me. And I just think, and I enjoyed this episode for what it was. I did enjoy it, and I'm actually kind of curious to see how Captain Batel becomes this human Gorn hybrid thing. I'm actually interested to see that happens because the ending is actually pretty powerful. The episode, with a little bit of argument between Batel and Pike, that she's scared and rightfully so. She's afraid of dying. I can see that she's afraid of dying, but definitely the episode that I think is interesting to see what happens with her. I mean, I don't think she's gonna die, but I don't think she's gonna be fully human anymore. I think she's gonna. I think she's gonna be the first Gorn who actually speaks English, other than the Gorn captain in Arena. I think she's gonna turn into this big giant, big green monster thing, and I don't know what's going to happen. I think she's going to turn. I think this is kind of like Star Trek's version of Ellen Ripley. Um, with regarding everything that happened to her in the Alien franchise, um, with Ellen Ripley, and I think this is kind of like a very similar kind of situation, and it's personally I think is going to be an interesting to see how they're going to like differentiate themselves from the Alien franchise because they've treated the Gorn like it was from Alien, like the xenomorphs from Alien, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens. So yeah, 4.5 out of 5 for this episode, just because there's some little many things that don't really detract it a little bit, but it's still a great episode of Strange New Worlds, and an episode that should air in October, not July. So, and that's just my personal opinion of that episode, Shuttle to Kenfori. So, okay, so let's wrap it up. So, next week, same time, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, we will be on live again to talk about a space adventure hour. Like I said, this was the Jonathan Frakes directed episode, one of the best episodes he ever directed in his career as a director. And this actually involves a murder mystery. So this is going to be kind of fascinating to see what happens with this one because I love murder mysteries. I love shows like Murder She Wrote and stuff like that. I love those kind of shows. And I saw I'm a big fan of I know this is probably ridiculous to think of, but I am also a big fan of the board game Clue. And I did see a staged version of the film from the 80s recently, like in the last couple of years here in Minneapolis, and it was just laugh out loud funny. It was just funny, and I'm hoping this is going to be another funny episode. At least get some giggles, but not so much as Wedding Bell Blues. But I'm hoping to get some laughs out of it. So to wrap things up, like I said, next week, season 3, episode 4, a space adventure story, a space adventure hour, I should say. And so to find us, Chris says, if we end up at a convention, we will definitely play a round of Clue. Yeah, okay. Yeah, if we ever end up at a convention there, we'll definitely do that. That'll be fun. So to get in touch with us again, find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Blue Sky. Facebook is TC Trekkies Pod. Instagram is Twin Cities Trekkies Pod, all one word. And we have now reached, speaking of Instagram, we have now reached 700 followers on Instagram. So way to go. And from what I understand from Google, we are now a nano influencer, and according to Google's AI. So you have 700 Instagram followers. And you can also find us on Blue Sky. Just search out TC Trekkies when you search out on Blue Sky. And this is going to be it for now. And we will have a regular episode this Friday. I am trying to figure that out right now. I think I'll probably talk about talking about the best of both worlds, just for me personally, because I actually have somewhat, I want to talk about a certain thing that happened to me with that episode, not necessarily the episode, but what I did to celebrate an anniversary of its airing, and I want to talk about that on the regular show. So I do, yeah, great topic. Yeah, I really want to talk about it because it's the 35th anniversary of the Best of Both Worlds. And I want to do that for episode 97. And then after that, folks, I will get in touch with everybody else who has not been a part of the Voyage celebration yet, including people like Joe and Nicole from Deep Space Love, Alonzo, the Geek Authority, people that I found on other Facebook groups who want to be a part of this and stuff like that. Jupiter Station, I know. Everybody else who's listening to me or watching this later, if you're watching this later, I just want to say personally, I'm sorry. I've been so busy with other things, mainly convergence and also getting better from my bike accident. You're not forgotten. So you haven't been forgotten. I will be in touch with you shortly. Just right now, I want to focus on trying to get to the episode 97, get next live episode ready, and then I will get in touch with you shortly. So that's one of the regular show. So next Saturday we will talk about the shuttle, the next episode of Strange New Worlds, which is the Space Adventure Hour episode directed by Jonathan Frakes. And we will see you again on Saturday, everybody. Take care and live long and prosper.